So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute, man. And today we're gonna check out some unusual, insane, but incredible homes that people laughed at until they went inside. All right, so we're gonna check this video out. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, join the fam, and let's see some craziness.
All houses are unique. That's what makes them special. That's what makes a house a home. But some are even more unique than most. These are the 20 most unusual houses in the world. Number 20. Japan Tiny House. This house looks incredibly tiny from the outside. In fact, from some angles it seems so narrow that it has a certain cell-like quality. However, that's all quite different when you peep inside this tiny Japanese home. Clever architecture and some snazzy design features allow this seemingly dinky domicile to open up into a family home with all the comforts and conveniences of any contemporary house. Despite the fact that the house is built on a miniature plot of land, the home itself only has 594 square feet of living space, so it isn't exactly built in palatial proportions, but Japanese...
But it looks like from just the few photos they've shown so far that they took advantage of the space that they have. If I was a single bachelor and it was just me, I could definitely live there.
His design, and keeping the interior simple, has basically made a silly slice of land into a functional and cozy space. If the neighbors all thought the idea was mad, they would probably change their minds if they saw the way it actually all fits together. Even if it looks ever so slightly bananas from the street, people laughed at his house until they actually went inside. Who would have known? But what do you reckon? Is this a clever use of space, or a bit of a con job that has us all believing that we have to live in houses with dimensions of closets? Let's get into it in the comments below. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Now it's time for the sweet topic. Let's chat about Floris Schoenderbeck. This Dutch designer designed an underground fridge that doesn't require electricity. People would mock Floris for so long because they thought he lived in there and thought that he was a bit of a freak for doing so. People laughed at his house until they went inside, because when they did, it was not a house at all, but perhaps the most innovative fridge of all time. A real game changer for food preservation. As always, comment down below with the hashtag sweet topic and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed you on the screen. Number 19. Man lives in airplane house in Houston. For some guys, hitting middle age means buying a motorcycle and becoming a weekend warrior. For others, it's a red sport.
Now, this is only okay if this wasn't like a plane from like a wreckage or something like that, all right? This is only okay because, you know, I don't know how I would feel about that.
Sports car and alimony payments. Then there's this guy, Joe Axline. For him, middle age meant divorce and buying a couple pieces of aeroplane to turn into his house. It takes all...
He still got the cockpit in there.
Sorts, after all. As a child, Axline had watched a television show called The Magician, in which the main character would, at the end of every episode, drive his car onto the back of an aeroplane and take off. Apparently that had stuck in old Joe Axline's brain for all those years, clattering around and giving him all the feelings. So once he found himself a single guy again, in 2011, he set about turning his childhood dream into his grown man reality. He even gave it a dorky name, Project Freedom. He bought a plot of land in Brookshire, Texas, and got a hold of a couple of wingless halves of old retired planes, as one does, and he's since converted the insides into living accommodations. He has most of the usual house stuff, and in amongst all of that, there are also a few bits and pieces of the plane's own personality still in place. It's quite the novelty, and no doubt a place that people are quite keen to poke around in. Oh, and
that was about to be my thing right there. See, the thing that come with these type of houses is you better have a way to protect yourself, because people see stuff like this and then number one, they may not know it's a house. So they may be just poking around, just looking and curious and everything. You're up in there sleeping, you know what I mean? that just seeing that in the middle of nowhere or out in this field or something would just make people just extremely curious, man. So you have all kind of random people just showing up to your house that they don't know is your house all hours of the day. Nah, no.
Axline loves it. He's living his boyhood dream in his 50s, and you can't argue with that. Number 18. Man digs a hole in a mountain and turns into an amazing apartment. Even though this one sounds completely bonkers, it actually turns out really kind of cool. Tired of the big city, this guy packed in his job in construction and took his skills back to where he'd grown up, set out to build himself a house in the peace and quiet of the mountains. The only thing is, he took the in the mountains part extremely seriously and literally. He decided to carve a hole in the side of a mountain and turn it into a home.
But isn't that kind of like weakening the mountain, not the entire mountain, but that part? It's weakening that. So what's to stop it from cracking and then continuing to crack up and then a piece of rock falling and then that's extremely dangerous right there, bro. I definitely wouldn't advise that. No.
Now, this is no job for the impatient. It's a very slow and laborious process. He doesn't start with a cave or anything so convenient as that. He begins with a big fat slab of mountain and a drill, and then the painstaking years-long work of gouging out the rock to build a space to live in. As he gradually chips away and begins to chisel out the shape of the rooms inside, it becomes clear just why he's doing it. It is incredible. He's built the whole thing with his own hands and imagination, and that's a very beautiful thing indeed. Number 17. 430 square foot tiny cabin, GAWTHORNE'S hut. Ah yes, these tiny houses that are all the rage. This one's even off-grid and built from repurposed materials. Ooh! Oh, and it has solar panels. So that's a whole load of contemporary design trends ticked off the list. And wait till you see the minimalist modern interior as well. It's as if Elle Decoration magazine barfed up all in there. That's not to say it isn't very nice though. It really is. But it is so worthy and fashionable and expensive. Oh, and it's listed on Airbnb. Of course it is. Located in the wilds of New South Wales in Australia, this eco-friendly tiny house is super sleek and modern, if you like that sort of thing, and you can boast to all of your friends about how much you saved the planet when you flew around the world to Australia to stay in this little hut of environment-saving magic materials. Nothing like a bit of a long-haul tourism for saving the planet, and that's a fact. Number 16. Glass Dome Eco House. Building homes inside individual glass dome greenhouses seems a little bit sci-fi, but one family figured it was a good way as any to insulate their home against the harsh weather of the Arctic Circle. And you have to imagine that their heating bills would have been absurd without it.
I wonder if somebody who is like claustrophobic could live in something like that. I want to know.
In 2013, a Norwegian family moved into this slightly bizarre-looking glass-enclosed home located in Nordland County within the Arctic Circle in Norway. This eco-friendly dwelling is named Nature House, and it's surprisingly spacious, with 5 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and a central family living space.
Nature House. You know what that makes me think they're growing inside of there? You guessed it. Exactly. Look at it. It looked just like a snow globe, though.
It's a manifestation of the family's whole ethos and way of life. The house, which they built with their own hands, is made from natural materials including cob and timber, and has a rainwater collection system as well as an enclosed garden area between the glass dome and the house. This is where the family grow their food, grow much of what they eat, in order to live in harmony with the natural environment that's all around them. It's utterly idyllic. Where can I get one? Number 15. Pythagorean home amidst olive grove offers views and protection. Now, maths is always important when you're building any kind of structure. If you get your sums wrong, then things can fall down or be surprisingly too big or small, like when I order almost anything from the internet. But how about if you take the maths part of the architecture so very seriously that your home becomes an homage to Pythagoras himself? The unique design of this house is in the middle of this olive grove near Athens and is inspired by Pythagoras. Its special triangular form has two protective sides, which, although angular and severe, offer shelter from the weather and the sun. The third side is open with large windows that face towards the mountains, giving the home extraordinary views across the vast landscape. Number 14. T-shaped dark megalith hosts Back to Basics young family home. Nothing says family home quite like a T-shaped dark megalith. Ah, the joys of living in a gray concrete block. Actually, it's rather nice inside, if a little on the gloomy side, but that's to be expected in a monolith. The unique house is in Athens, Greece, where there does seem to be an experimental approach to modern architecture nowadays, and the downstairs area is designed to be indoors and outdoors with...
See, and these stuff like this look more spacious than a lot of these cookie cutter joints they keep building and throwing up. Like, I'm a fan of like the open floor plan. Like, I need open space, be able to, I can't stand the little chopped up cookie cutter, little small little rooms that you gotta walk outside to change your mind. I can't. Like, give me the open floor plan. So when I see these, and I think to these other houses or apartments or townhomes they throwing up, I'd take those over them.
With sliding glass panels that open up to join the two spaces. The lower part of the T contains the kitchen area, and the outside living spaces. The upstairs part is the top of the T, and this is where the bedrooms for the family are positioned. The upstairs space is relatively light given the fact that it's well served with windows, but the downstairs is rather dark. And despite the modern stylings, does have an ever so slightly vampirish quality about it. It's an unusual design, but I don't know. How much would you like to live in the shadows like this? Even if it is super trendy. Number 13. Skinny Home in Toronto is prototype for parking space homes. When is a house not a house? When it is nothing more than a flipping corridor. For Pete's sake, this may be one of the daftest so-called houses yet, and it's a worry that it might start giving real estate people bad ideas. And frankly, we don't need any more scumbag landlords with unscrupulous ideas in this world. This guy in Toronto bought a strip of land that measured just 16 feet across, and because of clever design, he managed to build a home in the spot that has 1,300 square feet of living space, including 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. The thing is though, while the guy was keen to build himself a nice home, the idea he now has is that his house could be a kind of prototype for turning parking spots into accommodations. And that's not always the most sound idea unless you genuinely want all living spaces for ordinary people to be crammed on top of each other. There's always a scheming entrepreneur standing by to explain.
They're already doing that, building these homes on top of each other. That's our biggest struggle right now. We want to find a place that has land, you know what I mean? Some land on it to where we can make noise and not bother the people next to us. You know what I mean? I like to have a good time. I like to throw gatherings, get-togethers, parties. So, and then I don't like to be worried about my neighbors, you know what I'm saying, hearing my loud music or whatever. So I feel like all of these houses that are thrown up now where we live at are so close together. So it's almost like you gotta buy when you go buy either the house you want, you got to buy the house next to it as well and tear down and build. That way you have enough room. You know what I'm saying?
Exploit a cheap option for housing, and there are plenty of people who will be forced to live in miniature spaces for exorbitant rents if we keep on accepting that houses need to be so small. I mean, it's not as if Canada is short of space now, is it? But why should working people live in closets when the ruling classes have dozens of huge unoccupied properties? Just a little question before we all give up our precious space. Number 12. Treehouse Utopia Chateau Tour. Well, This is a fancy smancy treehouse now, isn't it? This is one of 4 tree houses at this vacation rental place in Utopia, Texas. Although positioned in the trees in the style of a classic treehouse, that's mostly the only feature that this luxury house shares with a treehouse at all. The chateau, that's castle in French, but I'm sure you knew that, is a massive and opulent place. It has a gigantic 400-foot deck area along with plenty of comfortable places to sit and take in the forest. Inside the treehouse, there are fixtures and fittings that are far beyond any regular sort of cabin in the.
I don't know why that place just like screams like you have like a bug infestation problem, or you know what I mean? Like seeing it next to a tree like that just automatically make me think about bugs. Nah, no thank you.
Woods kind of arrangement. However, if you do fantasize about playing in the trees, but want a luxury squishy big bed to sleep in, then this is the right sort of combo for you. But you know, part of heading out into the woods is to get a bit back to nature as well, isn't it? What do you think of all this fancy stuff stuck all up in trees? Is it just a gimmick or a fun thing anyways? It might be kind of fun to play in a treehouse like this one. Number 11. Floating Villa in Dubai. The disappointingly un-seahorse-shaped floating seahorse villas are one of Dubai's plethora of water-based dwellings that have been popping up all over the real estate-obsessed city for decades. These super luxury studio apartments are aimed at the mega-wealthy yacht owners that enjoy the marina in the city and are looking for a local home base. However, they are no ordinary apartments. These 3,100 square foot apartments are individual floating homes laid out over 3 levels: underwater, sea level, and upper deck. So the underwater level is perhaps what makes these buildings so unique. This is where the master suite and bathroom can be found, and the rooms are enclosed with completely transparent glass walls, giving the homeowner a
I know y'all like, why are you laughing? Because in my sick mind, right, like I would be the person that wait till your significant other is asleep, and then you know you staying in a place that's underwater, right? So you're kind of uneasy when you first go to sleep because all on your mind is thinking about what if this place leaks or water start bursting in, and I wake up underwater and I'm trying to swim out. So what you do? Just wait till the person goes to sleep and just spray a little spritz of water on them. Bro, oh my God. See, that's why my mind just, I can't control it. My mind was just thinking of that while I was watching this. My bad.
totally unobstructed view of the coral reef and marine life that surrounds them. Presumably, it's two-way glass, and therefore it also gives that sea life and any passing scuba diver a completely unobstructed view into the apartment as well. But I can't think of anything at all that one might do in a bedroom or a bathroom in the mirror that would require privacy, so that's completely fine, I'm sure. Because these are fancy apartments for fancy people, they also come equipped with 24-hour concierge service, 5-star facilities, and a $1.3 million price tag. Whew. Number 10. Underground dome house stays warm in Omaha winters. One way to avoid some of the worst weather of more chilly climates is to build your house underground. You know, like a bunny or a mouse or some other sort of teeny little furry creature. Sometimes they have the right idea. Just like my pet guinea pig Twinkle. Underground is generally cool in the summer and snuggly in the winter, even in an especially tiresomely cold place like Omaha, Nebraska. This couple decided that they were not into the idea of any more freezing winters on the surface, and they were going to make like moles and go underground. As one does, of course. The mercury can regularly drop to minus 30 degrees, but their air temperature inside the underground house is only affected by the temperature of the earth around it, rather than the air above, so that rarely dips below 55 degrees. Now, before you all dash off to build your own burrows, you should know that this labor of love took 10 whole years to build. There's a lot more going on than is immediate.
That you gotta have a lot of patience for that, bro. Think about it. Like most people don't have that, myself included. You think about it, because we thought about building our home. That process of waiting. Come on, 10 years though. Yeah, that's crazy.
immediately obvious to the naked eye. There are 3 reinforced concrete domes under 15 feet of earth. The whole building is dug into the ground with only the south-facing glass wall actually open to the outside. Added benefits of being buried in the ground include, if you aren't claustrophobic that is, soundproofing, and the steady indoor temperature that sits between 64 and 74 degrees as standard. The drawback though, yes, you can't win them all. Number 9.
Definitely saving on your light bill, which, man, what are y'all paying these days for light bills, bro? They getting out of hand, aren't they? They getting out of hand.
Family ditch expensive rents to live in a converted school bus. With the high cost of rentals these days, there are plenty of people out there looking for alternative ways to live. This family from Renton, just outside Seattle, Washington, have found a novel way to escape the financial bind of contemporary city living. The couple decided they wanted more freedom, so they did what anyone would do in that situation. They bought an old school bus to live in. Of course they did.
You're gonna go get it? Okay.
The vehicle itself only costed $2,800, and then they spent an additional $30,000 to make it into a proper family home. So it wasn't exactly a cheap outlay, but they do own it, and they can move house whenever they choose, which has to be a bonus. Although the couple say that they are ridiculous people and they live in a ridiculous lifestyle, it does kind of make some sense, even if they do have 3 small children living in there as well. The bus has living space with a fully equipped kitchen, a washing machine, a bathroom complete with a bathtub, and bedroom areas for the family. It's an unusual home for sure, but it works for this young family until they grow too tall for the 6-foot-high interiors, that is. Number 8. The fairy tale house shaped like a shoe. The old woman who lived in a shoe had a really terrible time of it, so why in the world would you consider that same idea for a so-called lover's retreat? Well, that's a bit of a mystery. But then again, if you are the sort of people who figure you might as well build a house that's shaped like a shoe, then your brain evidently works in slightly different ways than most. This tiny house in New Zealand was conceived by a madcap couple after they had spent an evening enjoying some adult beverages. They freely admit this, although between you and me, I think we could already tell, couldn't we? And although it's completely mad from the outside, the fairy tale...
I get it. You know what I mean? I get it, but I can't. I can't. But I get it though.
Feel inside the boot is actually very charming. It's cozy and welcoming and has everything that people might require for an overnight stay. Built with a steel frame and chicken wire, it's been coated in a concrete outer layer, and the building was painstakingly constructed to resemble a boot as accurately as possible, even down to the eyelets for the laces, which it also has. I suppose if you get fixated on creating a boot-shaped house, then this is the way to do it. If you must. Number 7.
What is the use of the chicken wire? Somebody explain that one to me. I know that one threw me for a loop.
Treehouse looks like UFO. Well, we have had houses that look like footwear, tree houses that resemble castles, so why not have one that looks like a UFO? That makes as much sense as any other, right? If you were staggering through the forest late one night, a bit lost and bleary-eyed, you could certainly be forgiven for thinking that this was in fact a genuine UFO landing right there amongst the trees. The place is incredible and has been designed around the classic flying saucer-shaped UFO idea. And it really...
I just don't think that's smart. I don't. Somebody stumbles upon that in the middle of the woods back there hunting or something. And then they out there and then they see what they think they found, what everybody's been looking for and talking about their entire life, a UFO ship. They found it. And then here you come stumbling out there. What are they gonna think you are? What are they gonna think you are? So, you know, I get it, but it might not be received as you may think.
really looks the part. Hidden in the Swedish forest, the metal construction is assembled almost 20 feet off the ground. There's a spooky spotlight that shines down beneath the structure, making it look as though it's coming into land, or perhaps teleport you up, although it does serve a practical purpose for illuminating the staircase. Inside is just as authentic in the space department, as it is decorated with an appropriate space-themed style with room for 5. Number 6.
They need a big sign posted on it that says, "This is fake, not real." Something like that. That way to warn people.
The Upside Down House, Poland. This place in Poland is essentially a tourist trap, which also claims to be making some kind of bold anti-communist statement, but that's kind of open to interpretation. Built in 2007, almost 2 decades after the fall of the Soviet Union, by the way, the Upside Down House's designers say the building represents the symbolic inversions of communist rule in Poland. This is achieved, they say, by turning the house on its head, except that it's not exactly how they did it. The whole thing is actually built upside down. It was so disorienting for the builders tasked with constructing it that they took a really long time, much longer than a regular sort of right way up home anyways. To get into the house, visitors have to climb in through the attic window and then across the ceilings to witness the rooms, which are decorated in 1970s furnishings, as were typical in Poland during the era of communist rule. The very loud message is that communism turned life in Poland upside down. The designer really hammers that message home with this one.
Like, the only reason I would do something like that is to make my neighbors mad. If I want to make my neighbors, they be in some certain type of way, and I want to figure out a way to get on their nerves, then I would definitely do something like this. You know what I'm saying? That would make everybody on the street mad, just furious.
Number 5. From old Belgian water tank to Dream Tower house with a view. If a 98-foot tall water tower doesn't seem like the most obvious place to sling your sofa and call home, then think again. This Belgian water tower has been through many transformations in its time on Earth. That of being a humble abode is one of the more simple tasks that it's had. It does look pretty strange though. The 250,000-liter water tower was built back in 1938, and it stayed in service in one way or another all the way up until the 1990s. During World War II, when the Nazis had occupied Belgium, they had even used it as a watchtower. Then in 2007, it was redesigned, and the total renovation of the structure began in earnest. It would be restored to its original appearance on the outside, and the interior converted to a stylish and comfortable family home. It still retains some of its original features, but whereas you might appreciate wood paneling or fireplaces in a period home, when you talk about the features of a water tower, it means such items as a water conduct, a massive water basin, and concrete ceilings and stairs. Less pretty than a Georgian townhome perhaps, but it does take all sorts. What do you think?
It better have an elevator. I saw stairs, but I don't think I might have missed it. If I missed it, then cool. But I saw stairs, but I ain't seen no elevator. It better have an elevator.
Number 4. The Bubble Palace, France. A massive favorite with fashion photographers and the epitome of a nightmare for a person suffering from trypophobia, the fear of patterns made of holes or spots, the Bubble Palace is a trippy 1970s monstrosity in one of the most beautiful landscapes on Earth. Designed by a Hungarian architect in the 1970s, this palatial estate overlooks the Bay of Cannes on the Côte d'Azur in the south of France. It's basically like a cluster of bubble shapes and spaces. Inside, there are 10 bedrooms, each decorated by contemporary artists, having extensive gardens, water features, a swimming pool, and a 500-seat auditorium. Because why not? It all enjoys views that overlook the Mediterranean Sea, but I think it's kind of revolting. A blot on a beautiful landscape. However, what do you think? Perhaps you love it. Let's have a right old Barney about it in the comments below, shall we? Go on, you know you want to. Number 3. Skateboard House, Malibu, California.
Oh,
A house that's entirely skatable and also still a house that you can live in was likely every skater kid's half-pipe dream, but one guy made it his reality, and it's really quite something. The professional skateboarder who goes by the acronym PAZ has lived his life on a skateboard. The pro skater and former world champion is also the founder of skate shoes and clothing brand Etnies, and it makes sense that he would design his home to fit his lifestyle, because why not? Divided into 3 distinct areas, the house has all the rooms you would expect in a comfortable modern home, but the difference is that these can also be used for skateboarding, and nobody's going to tell you to pack it in and take it outside. One of the 3 spaces is a living area, which also includes the dining room and kitchen. The second is a bedroom and bathroom, and the third is a dedicated skateboard zone. What's unique, and also likely the key feature that makes this skateboarding house, is the curvature of the rooms. Like a ramp, the floor curves into the wall, and the wall curves into the ceiling, and this clever shape mimics skateboarding ramps not only in its construction, but also the material that was used. The smooth plywood finish looks modern and sleek, and is also the perfect skating surface. Not only are the walls of the home skatable, but so too is the furniture. Any standing object, as a skater knows, can become a rail or a bar to grind along, or flip over, or to launch yourself off of. Number 2. Brooklyn Clock Tower Home, New
I'm sorry, but that was definitely different. He took the cake. He took the prize.
York City. Originally a cardboard box factory that was built in 1914, the landmark Clock Tower building in Brooklyn has a triplex penthouse inside, which is definitely a unique and incredible dwelling. But
You know this is several $1 million.
perhaps not so incredible as its original asking price. The thing about this apartment is that it has views. I mean, it has all the views. The apartment overlooks Manhattan's iconic skyline. Out one window, you have the Brooklyn Bridge in downtown, and the other, the Manhattan Bridge and all the midtown views that you can handle. Take a peep out of your bathroom window, and there's Lady Liberty herself. Seriously, all the views. It's kind of astonishing, but the apartment itself is kind of neat as well. It has that big old clock right there in your living room for starters, and then of course, all the other spangly stuff you would expect from a spacious modern apartment. The only thing that's wrong with this apartment was the price. When it was up for sale originally, it had been priced at $25 million.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it, bro. I knew it. We talk about New York here, bro. It's already expensive to live there. No, I knew this was gonna be crazy.
Steep, perhaps? Well, apparently everybody thought so, as it was on the market for 6 long years before finally being sold for a mere $15 million. It was still the most expensive apartment to ever sell in Brooklyn. Well, at the time anyway. Number 1. QUETZALCOATL'S Nest Snake House. Now, if you have aphidophobia, then this is less a dream destination than a nightmare that you actually wake up inside. The truly bizarre Serpent House in a sculpture garden just north of Mexico City is actually an Airbnb property. So if you fancy it, you too can snooze inside the belly of a snake. And frankly, although it is all rather on the giant snaky side, when you're outside in the sculpture park, the inside of the property is kind of regular. Nothing to see here, let alone get all freaked out about. As part of the sculpture garden, the Airbnb place is unique. The guests staying here have the run of the park all to themselves, which could definitely make for an interesting vacation. The sculptures are all serpent-like, oversized artworks that are set in amongst the landscaped gardens, which is atmospheric at best, downright creepy at worst. So pick your weekend companions with care if you go and stay here. This could be quite the mood killer if you get a phobic roommate. Who says houses have to be square boxes with doors and windows and boring old stuff like that? We've discovered that if you can imagine it, then you can build it. Which of these incredible homes inspired you? If you could build a home, what would it look like? As always, let me know all of your fabulous ideas in the comments.
Hey, like I said, man, your home should fit your personality, and if you can come up with some type of extravagant home that matches your personality, by all means, that's what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Who are we to judge? You can't. I can make a home out of something that fits my personality, I'm gonna do it. So shout outs to each one of these people, man. I don't care that people laughed at you. As long as you comfortable, they gonna laugh at anything, period. You know what I'm saying? Hey, as long as you comfortable in it. Y'all get at me in the comment section though, man, and let me know what you think, and stick around and stay tuned. Till next one, I'm gone. Peace.